This is one of the most iconic views in Thailand, a view that has graced the cover of magazines and guidebooks for decades. So join us as we explore the province of Krabi, home to Railay Beach. During our 3 days in this beautiful province, we ventured far beyond those iconic cliffs, climbing up to an incredible mountaintop temple and relaxing in the most popular resort town on the coast. But before we could explore those famous shores, we still needed to get ourselves over there. Krabi province is down in the south of Thailand, and for years it's been a very popular tourist destination. But our journey began on a very quiet island just off the coast of the mainland, on a very secluded beach. Good morning and welcome to another day in Thailand, where you once again join me from the island of Koh Lanta as we're about to start a big travel day. The plan is to leave our hotel here and head across to Ao Nang in Krabi province, so we're finally heading across to mainland Thailand. But there's already been a bit of a twist in the tale. We assumed that we'd take some sort of ferry service from Koh Lanta across to Ao Nang, but the demand for that sort of service is so low right now that there's actually nothing running on that route. So instead, we're making the journey by land in a minibus that should take about 3 hours. So, let's do it. We booked our minibus directly with a local travel agent and got picked up right outside of our hotel. So from there, our bumpy ride along the roads of Koh Lanta began. The name Koh Lanta refers to a collection of 16 islands in a national park, with the population primarily spread across the two biggest islands of Koh Lanta Yai and Koh Lanta Noi, which are connected to each other via the Sri Lanta Road Bridge. We drove across from one island to another, but to get over to the mainland, we still had to use a different method. Whilst there are plans to connect the Koh Lanta Islands with mainland Krabi, for now we had to pull into Klong Mak Pier to make our crossing over the water. Well, I was slightly mistaken. There is a bridge that connects the two Koh Lanta islands together, but you do need to take a ferry to get over to the mainland. It's very short, so we should be over there in a couple of minutes. As we drove onto the mainland, we eventually started to see some of those iconic mountain shapes that this province is so famous for. After about an hour, we briefly pulled into the outskirts of Krabi town, where we jumped onto another minibus, which took us along the final stretch towards that very famous resort town. Ao Nang has a population of around 10,000 people. Once a sleepy fishing town boasting both mountain and sea views, these days it's a major tourist destination. But we're going to explore the town properly a little later on, because first, we checked into our hotel for the next few nights. A place that made a pretty big promise on arrival.
A hotel that will surprise you, apparently. Hopefully a good surprise.
Right then, we have now made it to our hotel here in Ao Nang. And before we get out there and start exploring the town, let me give you a quick tour of our hotel room. And don't worry, it will be quick, because this room is very, very small, but the price is very good. We are staying at the Ibis Styles, which is on the main road that leads right down to Ao Nang Beach. And it's actually right opposite the big mosque here. And there's actually some really nice looking street food vendors over there as well, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. The hotel itself is very nice. It's sort of what you'd expect from a chain hotel like this. And it's got a bit of a climbing theme going on in the communal areas and in the room as well, which is quite a nice touch because that is something that Krabi is very famous for. It's got a big communal pool downstairs, and this is our room, which is probably the smallest we've had so far. Actually, it definitely is the smallest we've had so far, but it's got everything we need. But if you've been following this Thailand series, you've probably noticed that I'm a bit of a sucker for a good view, and this place definitely has one of those. So let's get out on the balcony. So this door leads out onto a tiny, tiny balcony. You can just about fit 2 people out here, but the view of the mountains is pretty nice. You can also see down onto the pool area as well, and it's really nice and peaceful out here. There's going to be some good sunsets, I think. So this room only cost us £28 per night, which I think is a really, really good deal. The rate we chose doesn't include breakfast at the hotel, but there's so many restaurants out in Ao Nang that we're just going to have a different breakfast at a different place every day. So speaking of the town, let's get out there and start exploring what it's like in 2022. As I said before, Ao Nang is a very popular resort town, so with that knowledge, my expectations were not too high. I expected it to be a little seedy, a little trashy, but overall, I was very pleasantly surprised. With its shaded promenades lined with palm trees and bars, it reminded me of some of the resort towns that you can find on the Spanish Costa del Sol, in a good way, with lots of hotels and venues for drinks and food. Of course, one of the biggest concerns we had about a place like this, which relies so heavily on tourism, is whether they managed to survive the pandemic unscathed, with that holiday atmosphere still intact. And whilst Ao Nang was probably quieter than previous years, we found a town that was generally looking pretty healthy. Well, in terms of first impressions, Ao Nang seems very, very nice, very lively. On this street leading down to the beach, there's loads and loads of bars and restaurants, most of which are open and ready to serve. But I've got to say, one thing that really sticks out to me so far are the bus stops. Have you ever seen bus stops like this? I just think that's so cool. Once I got over the bus stop displays, we made it down to where the road meets Ao Nang Beach. There's a long promenade here running along the back of the sand, and whilst the actual beach isn't the most picturesque shoreline in Thailand, it is a place where you can jump onto a number of different boat trips out to the surrounding islands, and of course, across to Railay, the most iconic place in Krabi, which lies just to the south of Ao Nang town, where we were planning to head the very next morning. But in the meantime, we just checked out some of the restaurants and bars along the seafront, which had some really great views of the sunset. Good morning, guys. So we decided not to do the Railay trip today because basically we're a little bit sick of beaches after the last 2 weeks. So instead we're going to go and rent a motorbike and head to a very cool site right near Krabi town. Let's go and do it. We found a little bike shop a couple of minutes walk from our hotel where we picked up a scooter for 200 baht per day and then we hit the road. Oh my god, these roads are so smooth. We headed inland to the northeast of Ao Nang, and as we drove further along, we got a better look at some of those towering karst mountains of Krabi province. Eventually, we caught a glimpse of our main target for the day, a temple that sits right on top of one of those iconic spiky peaks. Well, that ride from Ao Nang across to Krabi town was really, really good. Not only were the roads really smooth, but you got the most amazing mountain views. I think we actually drove that way on the minibus yesterday, but because we were inside a minibus, I couldn't see just how good the views were. But on the bike driving through, it's pretty awesome. And now we have arrived at the Tiger Cave Temple, which already looks really, really impressive. Wat Tam Sua, or the Tiger Cave Temple, is a sacred Buddhist site spread across a very large area, with both Chinese and Thai influences. As the English name suggests, the foundations of the temple are said to be based on some fantastical local legends. The most common story tells of a giant tiger who used to live here within the caves, with a roar that could be heard for miles around. The main Tiger Cave Temple is down on the ground floor, so it's easily accessible for visitors, and you can pay a visit to a statue of the tiger himself. But the main reason that we wanted to visit was to climb up to the top of the many, many steps to a large golden Buddha looking right over the scenery. Well, I think this is going to be quite a climb. How many steps is it, Emma?
I think it's like 1,200.
Bloody hell.
Something. I mean, if they're all like this as well. Each step is like the size of my head.
Come on then, let's do this. This climb was no joke, especially in the heat of the day. We started heading up at about 10 AM and it was already very, very hot. As they say, no pain, no gain. Well, I don't want to state the obvious, but this is very, very steep. About a quarter of the way done, and it's hard work. I can't decide whether these signs telling you how many steps up you are really motivating or just very, very demoralising. They're not going up fast enough. Oh my God. The whole climb took us about 40 minutes in total, with a lot of stops along the way. And of course, when we finally reached the top, it was well worth it for those views. Well, we made it. Basically turned into a proper climb at points. You know, you're on your hands and feet, just going one step by one step. But the view at the top is pretty awesome. Well, here it is. Congratulations. You have conquered the Tiger Cave Temple Mountain. You have ascended 309 metres vertically along a 600 metre path comprising of 1,260 steps. Feels good, feels good. Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was worth it. Look at it.
Nice. It's so peaceful up at the top here. Obviously you've got the big golden Buddha right in the middle, looking down over this incredible views from all around. You've got the mountains, you've got the city down there. Beyond that you've got the river and the sea. It's well worth the climb. And for some perspective, you could even see the temple down at the bottom there. It's a long way down. And now for the steep way down, which might be even harder than the way up, we'll see. Doubt it. The climb down turned out to be much easier, and at the bottom we were greeted by some very refreshing treats. The natural Gatorade. Oh, so good. Feeling a little more human, we hit the road back towards Ao Nang, where it didn't take long until we wanted to pull over once again. Well, on the way back to Ao Nang, we found what is probably one of the coolest cafes I've ever seen. It's like a treehouse here, there's so many different levels. It's like that Swiss Family Robinson experience at Disneyland. Anyone remember that? Classic. We decided to grab some food here and soak up the unique atmosphere before we headed back to the bright lights of Ao Nang. But we still made sure to get an early night, because the next morning we were heading to Krabi's most iconic site. Railay Beach is a site that most travellers would recognise even if they didn't know it by name. It's an image that has decorated guidebooks and postcards of Thailand for decades now, and we wanted to see it in the best way possible. So the next morning we got up early to try and beat the crowds. Good morning. We are now on our way down into Ao Nang to pick up a long-tail boat to take us around to Railay Beach, which is very exciting. The cool thing is that the long-tail prices here to go to Railay Beach are actually regulated by the local authorities. So you can't just go to any tour agent here to try and negotiate a cheaper price. All of the prices are set by the authorities, so that just makes things very easy. The ticket for a shared boat cost us 200 baht each for the return journey, and luckily there was enough people waiting on the beach to set off right away. On the Railay Beach side, you can choose to stay as long as you want, but you may have to wait until the boat is full before they start to head back to town. Well, here we are. Welcome to the famous Railay Beach. We arrived here just after 9:30 in the morning and it's already a little bit busy. It is a weekend though, so there's actually quite a lot of Thais here at the moment. It's always surreal when you arrive in somewhere like this that you've seen so much of in photos. Those cliffs are so iconic. If you've ever been to Thailand, you can't avoid pictures of this place. So it's kind of cool to be here right now. So, to state the obvious, Railay is an extremely beautiful beach. And to kick things off, it only felt right to jump into that water for a swim. As we waded around in that natural swimming pool, we noticed that beyond the beach itself, the surrounding limestone cliffs are the real X factor that makes this place so unique. It's honestly quite unlike anywhere else in Thailand, and it's no wonder that it looks so good on a postcard. As I mentioned before, this whole area is very famous for rock climbing, and Railay Beach itself also offers a lot of really great rock climbing opportunities. On that main rock face, that limestone, there's actually a cave up there, and I've looked up some pictures of the view from up there down onto the beach, and it is pretty awesome. I can see the appeal of that. But even beyond the perfect waters and the cliffs, Railay still has some more to offer. Not only can you stay the night in a hotel right here on the famous sands, but you also have a lot of other options further back from the main beach. Well, there's actually a hell of a lot more here than I first thought. Opposite where the boats moor up on the beach, there's actually a sort of walking street here. So if you are staying on Railay Beach, there is plenty of places to eat and drink. Very unexpected. For some reason, I just didn't imagine it had something like this. Maybe because I'm thinking of Maya Bay in my head, but it is very, very different here. I've just climbed up some rocks at the far end of the beach. You get a great view from up here. What a place. I guess it's hard not to compare this to Maya Bay, just because both of them have such an iconic status here in Thailand. And really, they are both quite different. Maya Bay is definitely that paradise beach, that unspoilt place, but on the flip side, now these days, you can barely even touch it. You can't swim there, but you can swim here. And the water here is so nice, honestly. It's like a swimming pool. And on top of that, Railay Beach also has lots of entertainment. It has places to stay, so I guess they're different beaches for different needs, to borrow an office quote. And so this seems like as good a place as any to say goodbye to Krabi and to say goodbye to a section of the trip in a sense. Tomorrow we're going to be taking a minibus over to the east coast to an island that we have visited before, and for the next 2 months we're just going to be staying in one place and living, which I'm really excited about. So I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Next time we head across to the islands of the east coast, where we begin to explore one of Thailand's most famous island destinations.